What's up, guys? Arash Rahbar here. I'm with my boy Kabir. We're going to do some Q&A questions for you guys that you've been asking me under the comments below and DMs and Instagram. We compiled a few of the popular questions and we're going to answer them for you. Hope you guys enjoy.
All right. So the first question I had was, do you believe more in macros? Do you believe in flexible dieting for someone who doesn't compete? Or do you believe that someone should follow the same 5 to 6 meals every day?
But when you say, do I believe in macros, macronutrients are carbs, fats, and protein.
Right.
This word macros became popular recently, but I mean, do you mean, do I believe in counting carbs and fat and protein?
Yes. So
you have to count calories.
Right.
Regardless if you're doing flexible dieting or you're doing the old school strict bodybuilder diet.
Right.
So yes, I don't like the word macro, people throw it around. The newer generation does.
Right.
Yeah, of course. You have to know how much carbs you're eating, how much fat you're eating. I mean, if you're really bodybuilding, if you're trying to get into shape, you don't just wing it. That being said, flexible dieting, if it fits your macros, is the same thing as Weight Watchers. Not saying anything bad, it's just that's what it is. It's just a bodybuilder term for Weight Watchers.
Right.
It's basically, for those of you who don't know, it's eating whatever you want as long as you're fitting the same macronutrients. As long as you're getting the same, your target protein, carbs, and fats. You can get it if you're eating burger and fries, pizza, or if you're eating chicken and rice. Now, a lot of people say, no, I'm not eating sloppy, I'm not eating dirty, but a lot of people do. So here's my take on it. I don't do flexible dieting. I don't when I'm in prep. Okay, we're talking about hard bodybuilding preparation for a show. Right. I do old school, very clean. Right now I'm eating rice, sweet potato, cream of rice, my carb sources, which I don't even need all those because my carbs are so low.
Right.
I have almonds, almond butter, chicken, raw tuna, sushi grade tuna, steak, and bronzino whitefish. That's what I eat. Now, my theory behind if it fits your macros or Weight Watchers is this. Having 50 grams of carbs from sweet potato before you train is not the same as having 50 grams of carbs from a processed, faster digesting, unhealthy carbohydrate at 10 o'clock at night. Now, if you're of good genetics and you're in shape and you're working out hard, calories in versus calories burned might play a role here. But we're talking about trying to get into peak condition. I think any guy can get into men's physique condition, any girl can get into bikini condition doing the flexible dieting. But we're talking about sub 4% body fat while maintaining muscle and being hard and lean. The difference, the carbs, the sweet potato before training and the carbs 10 o'clock at night is not the same, is because different foods have different hormonal responses. Carbohydrates spike insulin. When you spike your insulin, the glucose, the blood sugar, goes to 5 places. It goes to liver and or brain, which the stores are very little. It gets burned off for energy, and unless you're running a marathon at that time or doing something really strenuous, it's not going to get burned off. Number 4, muscle glycogen. If you're not very, very muscular and your muscles aren't depleted, that goes out the window too. And number 5 is fat store. So if you guys are really depleted and you're training really hard and you have your carbs late at night, you'll be okay. But for a regular person, you're more likely to store fat. So different times, eating different foods different times is like a really big thing that I do with my clients. It's very important. Timing foods is very important. I don't just tell somebody to eat 100 carbs, 100 fat, 200 protein, whatever you want. I say eat this carb at this time, this carb at that time. Can you do flexible dieting? Can you do Weight Watchers, get into great shape? Yes, absolutely. That being said, every diet works, guys. Like if you guys follow me on Instagram, I don't talk too much about diet and training. I do because I know a lot of you are beginners and you have questions and I want to answer them for you. But the mentality, the mindset, the intensity, and how strict you are is more important. Every Mr. Olympia for the past 30 years had a different style of training and a different style of diet. But they were all the greatest at the given time. Why is that? What you do is not as important as how you do it. So, I do low carb and I have some fats in my diet. This guy does high carb and no fats. This guy does keto diet. So they all work. It depends on your style of training, your belief, and your mindset. So they're okay, they're good. I do not do flexible diet or Weight Watchers or if it fits your macros when I'm in show. after the Olympia, I didn't want to rebound and gain too much weight and too much water because I don't want to look bloated, and also I didn't want to get too much bigger because it's classic physique. I have a weight to make. I have a weight requirement. I can't be too heavy. So after my show, I did a keto diet, and the reason I put it in quotes is because I was following a keto diet, 70% fat, 30 protein. So I brought my protein really low. I had 0 carbs. I brought my fats really high. But I put it in quotes because I wasn't in ketosis. I test my urine with keto strips, and the reason I wasn't in ketosis is because I was doing this after the show. I was enjoying myself. I was eating. I wasn't at a calorie deficit. I wasn't too strict. Maybe I was having a little bit extra protein. I make my protein ice cream. Right. So too much protein will get you out of ketosis. But what happened? I felt great. I looked great. I was really lean. I maintained my conditioning for months after the Olympia, where a lot of competitors were beluga whales. Right. And it's water. A lot of it's water, understandably, but nobody likes being bloated. And honestly, if your ankles are swollen, that's a bad sign. You're holding water in your heart, your organs, everywhere. It's unhealthy. So I was eating, if I was hungry and I wanted a snack, I would eat. I would eat some nuts. I'd have some peanut butter. So I wasn't super strict. Right. So, I'm using that as a reference, kind of like it wasn't if it fits your macros, but I was eating. I went out to restaurants and I wasn't in hardcore prep. So there's no perfect diet. They all work. If you guys are doing if it fits your macros or Weight Watchers that I'm not crazy about for my prep and it's working for you, do it. Do I think you can get in the best condition of your life doing that? No. But a lot of people that argue about if it fits your macros, they're pretty strict. They don't eat like Pop-Tarts and pizza and burgers every day, but some people do. At least that's what I've seen on Instagram. Right. So I hope that answers the question.
Okay. So since we spoke about keto that you just brought up, what's the main reason people are low on energy in keto?
Who?
People who try keto. Why do so many people say I don't have energy, I don't get enough of a pump?
Because they're not doing it right.
Right. So what's the usual mistake people make?
If you don't have energy on keto, you're not in ketosis. First of all, you can't just throw around the word keto unless you've tested your urine with keto strips. They're very cheap. You can buy them on Amazon. And you're in ketosis. See, ketosis is a state that your body goes into. It takes up to 3-4 days to go into that, because if you're eating carbs today, you have glucose, carbs in your muscle. For those to deplete, you have to be training hard, no carbs for 3 days or more for them to fully deplete. Right. So most people don't give keto a real chance. Mm-hmm. So you have to give it a week, 2 weeks, and really run your numbers. It's very, very calculated. Mm-hmm. You cannot have high protein. Keto doesn't allow you to have white fish and lean steak and chicken breast. It has to be salmon, whole eggs, fatty steak. Fat has to be high, protein low. Right. The old school bodybuilder, 1.5 grams of protein per body weight will not let you go in ketosis. Why? Because your body is so smart and so efficient. You don't give it glucose, you don't give it sugar. It says, okay, you don't want to give it to me? F you. Yeah. It'll convert protein to glucose. That's not a good sign. If any of you have ever smelled like ammonia in a strict diet, that is your body converting protein to sugar, glucose, and releasing nitrogen, and makes you smell like ammonia. So to go back to answer your question, they're not fully in ketosis. They're not eating enough fats, or they didn't give it enough time. Right. If anything, when I did keto, my energy level was higher than when I'm on low carb. Low carb is tough because when you eat carbohydrates, your body will use carbohydrates for fuel before it uses fat. When you're in ketosis, it does not. It uses fat for fuel. So a hybrid car, it starts with gasoline, correct? Yeah. At least most of them. I don't know too much about it. I'm a gasoline type of guy. Starts on gasoline. Get on the highway, hit a certain speed, it transitions from burning fuel to using electricity for fuel. Same thing. Keto is the same thing. You gotta give it a chance. You gotta stick with it and make sure you're strict and you go into ketosis. Proteins and carbs have 4 calories per gram. Fats, 9. So if you're eating an abundance of fat, calorie-dense food, there's no reason why you shouldn't have energy. You should have energy, and hormonally, it balances you very, very well because male and female hormones are produced by fats. Right. And people even say they sleep better when they're on keto. Right. So if you guys ever got really lean and you worked really, really hard, I'm not talking about just run-of-the-mill BS diets. I'm talking about you're doing cardio, you're training hard, and you're on a low-carb diet. Most of the time when you eat carbs, you don't feel good. It will fuel you, but you actually crash because insulin. How many of you are at work and you have your lunch or your late afternoon snack and you crash at work and you start falling asleep at your diet? That's carbohydrates.
Yep, happens all the time. All right, so since you also spoke about like insulin spikes and flexible diet, do you think someone trying to get lean with flexible dieting should have fruits or they shouldn't have fruits? Or also the importance of micronutrients from fruits, because most bodybuilders probably don't have fruits, right?
Okay, fruits are healthy, right? Your parents will tell you, eat fruit, eat fruit. Right. Fruits are healthy, but they are sugar. They're fructose. Fructose is not like regular sugar. It does not convert to glycogen that well. So, I mean, ideally, I would love to have fruit pre and post workout because it's healthier, it's natural. I'm getting, vitamins from it, but it's not the same as having rice or these carb drinks. But it depends. It's all relative. People say, can I have a banana? Can I have this and get in shape? Well, it's relative. If you're eating X amount of carbs and that's what's getting you leaner and then you add a fruit, no. You could take some carbs away and substitute fruit, absolutely.
Right.
Would I do that in a prep? No, I do not.
Okay.
Normally, day to day, I love fruit. I love apples. I love apples because they're filling. Mm-hmm. See, most fruits average size, like an orange or an apple, they're 15 grams of carbs, 15 grams of sugar, fructose.
Right.
You could eat like 10 oranges and not be full. An apple is a little bit more satiating. It's a little bit more filling. A banana, my favorite, you eat it in 2 seconds, doesn't really fill you up, at least right off the bat, and it's double. Right. It's the equivalent of 2 apples. It's 30 grams of carbs, fructose. Right. So, you can definitely balance having fruit in your diet. But again, when we're talking about getting super, super lean,
right.
It's not that it's not possible. I don't do it.
Okay. Makes sense. Then I also had a question about someone who's enhanced and someone who's doing it naturally. How often should someone be hitting a certain body part if they're natural or if they're enhanced?
Well, before I even answer that, let me first say, I don't know what it is with this new generation. Everyone has so much focus on that.
Right.
You guys, if you use excuses, like let's say you're working hard and you're trying to make money and you're trying to become a millionaire, and you look at all the millionaires around you and you keep on saying, well, that guy had it easy. That guy's parents helped him. That guy was born rich. Who cares? Focus on you. Be the best you can be. If you're enhanced, fine. If you're not, fine. I don't think much changes. I bodybuilded 20 years naturally. I got really, really far naturally. I turned pro naturally. I trained the same way, and I dieted the same way. If anything, I feel from my experience with clients that my natural athletes can eat more. Right. They can eat more because that's their main source of fuel. This is my experience. I've seen some huge guys, open bodybuilders that are enhanced, and they're eating. You guys would be surprised at how little they eat. But look, today I trained with one of the classic physique competitors. I'm on 75 grams of carbs. I'm a lean 230 pounds, 6 weeks out of a show, 75 grams a day. I have about a high carb day, which is about 3 to 4 times that amount, which is still not a lot on my leg day. This athlete was smaller than me, carried less muscle mass than me, and he was eating 400 grams of carbs. Wow. So he has a faster metabolism. He's not working harder than me, but he has a faster metabolism. If anything, I'm doing more cardio. Right. So it's all relative. So I do not believe it's so cut and dry. If you're enhanced, if you're natural. No, absolutely not. I've dieted on various calorie intakes, various carb intakes over the past 20 years. Right. And what I notice now, the bigger I'm getting, the lower my carbs are, believe it or not. Right. Listen, I do what I have to do. I don't know what I'm going to do next week. People say, oh, what are you going to do 4 weeks out? What are you going to do peak week? Honestly, I don't know. Yeah. I look at my body. I listen to my body, depending on how I look and the scale combined, not just the scale alone, I make changes. Dude, if I could eat 400 grams of carbs and still make the weight and come down in condition, I would. Yeah, of course. It'll make life easier day to day. Right. But for me, now that's not the case. So every single person's different. You can't just say, well, I need to eat this because so-and-so's eating this. Or you can't just go by on paper. If you have an amazing diet, and you have a calculator, macronutrients, and someone does your BMI for you, and you're following it, but you're not getting leaner, you got to cut. Right, you got to cut carbs. You got to cut your energy sources. And even protein too. Some protein still, it's a building block of muscle, but it's still food. Some people eat too much protein. Right. So it's all relative. My protein intake also came down. In the beginning of my prep, it was higher. I dropped it about 2 weeks ago. I dropped each meal an ounce. It's nothing. It's very little. An ounce of chicken is this big. But an ounce over 5 meals, Again, I'm only
That's
eating
all.
5 meals. When I was smaller
Yeah.
and men's physique, I was eating 6 meals. I was eating more back then. So it just goes to show. But 1 ounce over 5 meals is 5 ounces.
Right, right. So do you think also if someone's enhanced, can they push their limits with their diet? Just like you said, when someone's natural, they have to eat more in order to sustain whatever their hormones.
Yeah,
or
I've
testosterone.
seen guys run themselves into the ground, really low calories,
Mhm.
and still maintain muscle and have fullness being enhanced. But
Right.
I've seen both ends of the spectrum.
So it
It
depends.
really depends. The reason I brought up the classic physique competitor eating 400 carbs is because it's just the different body types,
Right.
and he has a faster metabolism.
Right.
You know, it sucks that my carbs are so low, but at the same time, it's a good thing because it means I'm utilizing my nutrients so well.
Right.
I'm maintaining muscle mass. I'm not flat and tiny by any means. I feel like I'm flat, but I'm still like my coach, my buddy, looked at me today and they're like, dude, you're still full. I'm like, nah, I'm flat.
Right.
But for me to still be full and be maintaining that plump muscle roundness and hardness at 75 grams is a great sign. So if I did have 200, 300, 400 grams of carbs, what would happen? I wouldn't just not grow. I would grow from it.
Right. Right.
I see a lot of people pushing the envelope with supplements, with food, and they're just not growing.
Mhm.
I think a lot of it has to do with some people just burn their bodies out.
Right.
You always want to be fresh. Whatever you do, supplements, food, training, you want to keep your body fresh, meaning you're eating and training in a very efficient way. If you're training a ton and you're eating a ton and you're taking a ton of supplements and you're not getting results, take a step back. There's
Yeah.
something wrong there.
Mhm.
And it's not worth it. It's not worth putting that stress on your body. At the end of the day, training is stressful and it's dangerous. It's
Right.
only worth doing if you're getting a result.
Right. Right. Okay, that makes sense. What do you think about testosterone boosters? Are they effective if someone's trying to stay natural? Do you think it actually helps them in any way?
Which ones? Like natural ones?
Yeah, testosterone boosters.
Yeah, I
like
think they're effective.
tribulus or anything.
Yeah, absolutely. They're natural, they're effective. You want to be careful, you don't want to overdo it.
Mhm.
The earlier days, now they're illegal, but there was pro hormones.
Right.
Those were the same steroids.
Right.
They were no different. They were just as expensive.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think I was 20, in my early mid-20s, they were still legal.
Right.
And I was like, you know what, I'm going to try these. And I went in and I researched, and I saw everyone taking liver protectants and hair shampoo and all this stuff. And I asked my buddy back then, I was like, why are they doing this? Like, because of side effects.
Yeah.
I said, so I don't get it. What's the point? So I know a lot of people that damaged their testosterone from the pro hormones, and now they're on testosterone therapy because their body's shut down.
Right.
So yes, I think it's possible,
Mhm.
but I spoke to an elder gentleman this morning,
Right.
much older guy, not a bodybuilder, just trying to stay fit. And he told me he's on HRT,
Okay.
hormone replacement therapy. And I said,
Right.
why? Are you hypogonadic? And he didn't know what hypogonadism was.
Right.
So one thing I noticed is a lot of people jump to get on testosterone. Not even bodybuilders, just to be on testosterone therapy, because they go to the doctor and their test is on the lower spectrum. The normal range for medically is 200 to 1,000.
Right.
We consider 200 low, but you're not sick.
Right.
A good endocrinologist
Mhm.
will not put you on testosterone if you're just low.
Right.
And for guys that are low, their testosterone is low, not hypogonadic, just low, it's because your diet's not good. It's because you're not eating healthy. It's because you're not exercising. Stress,
Mhm.
not sleeping, not exercising,
Right.
just working and having an unhealthy lifestyle and eating fast food and eating processed bad foods lowers your testosterone.
Right.
So if you guys have low testosterone, get a good diet, a balance. When I say good diet, I'm not talking about some bare bones white rice and chicken all day long with no healthy fats. You need healthy fats to produce testosterone. Get on a good diet, work out, do some cardio, get your sleep, and I promise you your testosterone will go up. And if it doesn't, then you have a medical issue.
Right. So you would say rely more on like your diet, and then if
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the testosterone boosters are not going to make any overnight difference.
Right.
When I was younger, I tried them. I took Tribulus, Maca, I took a lot of them.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I don't know if my testosterone went up because I didn't check it before and after.
Right.
I noticed a difference in my libido.
Right.
I did not notice a difference in muscle mass and strength.
Right.
If my testosterone raised, I don't know if the libido was from the free testosterone or from
Right.
my overall number,
Right.
but if my testosterone raised, then yes, in the long term, with diet and
Mhm.
training, I would have gained a little bit of more muscle. But
Right,
we're talking about ounces, not pounds. We're not talking about you're going to put on 5 pounds of muscle from Tribulus.
Right.
But these young guys,
Yeah.
it's like they're on testosterone. Because when you're young, and when I say young, I mean like 16 to like mid to late 20s. Everyone's different. All male testosterone drops as you age. Some guys have high tests all the way to 50. Some guys drop at 30.
Right.
But when you're young, you don't need much because your test is so high, it's as if you're juicing.
Yeah.
You know? So people are relying too much on supplements and gear. It's like, dude, just train hard and eat. And I'm telling, like, you hear everybody say this and you think it's a cop-out and it's a bullshit answer, but the difference between the guys that make it and the guys that don't are the guys that believe it, put their hoods on and their music on and train, and the guys that just sit there and point fingers and say, he's doing this, he's doing that, you know, I'm not doing it, that's why I'm not making gains.
Yeah, makes sense. So rely more on your diet, and this is just a supplement that you wouldn't really
If someone came and gave you the holy grail, the best supplement in the world, and said you can gain muscle from this, and you took it, and then your buddy took it, and you train, and you eat 6 meals a day, and you put all your might into your training. Every day means a lot to you. You focus, and you don't bullshit in the gym, you don't talk to people, and you're not checking your Instagram between sets, and he doesn't do anything, but it's the best supplement in the world. Let's say he gains a pound of muscle sitting on the couch, you'll gain 10.
Right. Yep, you're absolutely right. Also, now these are all random questions, right? So what do you think is good for someone in terms of following volume for one muscle a week? Or should they do something twice a week? Or does it depend from person to person? What do you think is ideal in your experience in bodybuilding?
Volume in training is relative to recovery.
Okay.
Recovery is relative to food, how good and how much you're eating, and how much you sleep and rest.
Right.
Me personally, I've tried everything. High volume, obviously when you go high volume, the weight is a little bit lighter. You can go heavy with high volume, but it's not going to be as heavy with low volume, correct?
Right.
And I've trained every muscle twice. For me, now and when I was 20 years old, one muscle every 5 to 7 days. Meaning my training cycle, I don't do Monday this, Tuesday that. I just train.
Right.
I do chest, back, shoulders, arms, legs.
Okay.
Rest.
Okay.
Now, after back, I was resting, and after legs. So I was training 3 days, 1 day off. 2 days, 1 day off. And it just so happens in 7 days. Now, I just train, and I only take off after legs or the day after.
Right.
So I'm in preparation. It's different. And even the days where I take off, I'm still in the gym twice.
Okay.
Like today was my off day.
Right.
I did fasted cardio, then I came back and did cardio in the middle of the day with abs and calves. So I'm still expending energy and still burning calories.
Right.
And I did 0 carbs, so today's a real fat burning day for me. So what was the question again?
So how many times you should hit a muscle in a week? What's your frequency?
Okay, so this is my personal idea about lagging body parts.
Right.
If you have a lagging body part and you're training it twice, it's getting less rest.
Right.
When does your muscle grow?
When it rests.
Not in the gym.
Right.
Guys, the gym is training is catabolic. Don't care what you say. Cardio and training is a catabolic activity. You build strength and tear muscle tissue. Yes, you can get bigger, but you're not growing and getting bigger in the gym. You're growing and getting bigger when you eat and when you're resting. So your post-training meal is the most important meal of the day. So I personally think training very, very intense and very hard once.
Right.
Okay? Especially if you're in a diet and doing cardio, I do not believe in hitting a muscle that's weak more than once because it's not resting.
Right.
So I believe in real heavy blunt force trauma once. Now, who are some of the most beautiful physiques in the world? Gymnasts. Gymnasts have like some of the most aesthetically pleasing physiques.
Right.
They look jacked, they look hard, and they're beautifully symmetric.
Right.
They train every single muscle every single day. So what I say goes out the window, right? No, because they're not bodybuilding. We annihilate our muscle in the 45 minutes to an hour and a half that we're in the gym. We annihilate it. They're not annihilating their muscle.
Right.
So if you want to train upper body, lower body, upper body, lower body, you're going to hit everything like 2-3 times. That's okay, but the volume and intensity is going to be much lower.
Right. Makes sense.
That, and also one of the reasons gymnasts have such beautiful bodies is because they do a lot of body weight stuff, dips, push-ups, muscle-ups, pull-ups, where those type of movements use all the muscles. Whereas a lot of guys in the gym just take the easy route and they just do machines. So they'll just sit there and do this. So the body doesn't tie in. The reason gymnasts are so beautiful is because their movements tie in all the muscles and it shows. That being said, I don't know why in 2018 now, we've come so far since Arnold and even before Arnold. We've learned so much from them. I don't know why everyone is looking for these new theories, these new diets. Dude, we all want to look like classic bodybuilders, most of us. Maybe not as big, but they were beautiful.
Right.
Why is everyone trying all this fancy new stuff?
Right.
Just keep it basic and simple.
That makes sense, because I asked you a few months ago actually that my delts weren't growing, and a lot of people told me that I should be hitting them twice a week. But you suggested hit it hard, hit it once a week, drop that volume.
And what happened?
And my delts grew. It
really?
grew up. Yep.
See, he didn't tell me.
I
This
saw
is the first time you're
difference.
telling me this. I'm happy to hear that.
Yep.
So, you know, I have 23 years of experience. I've done a lot of reading and I've tested everything on myself.
Right.
But I've had hundreds of clients.
Yeah.
Right? So I've tested a lot of these things. Not tested, but I've given them my true opinion and watched it on them.
Right.
I've had men and women come to me with outrageous workout routines.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm just saying this is wrong. No. I look at the body and I see if they look spectacular and they're progressing and their diet in my eyes is wrong and their training in my eyes is wrong, I'm not gonna change it. It's working.
Right.
But 99.9% of the time I change it. I cut all their volume down. I give them more intensity, heavier weight, less volume, and less days a week per muscle, just once. And they all the same thing happens to all of them.
Exactly what you
They
said.
get
train
bigger.
like pigs.
They get bigger, and their body looks just rounder and harder and fuller.
Right.
You know, and bottom line, like the classic guys, they didn't eat as much.
Right.
And they did a lot more. They spent a lot of time in the gym.
Yeah.
But as bodybuilding evolved and guys got bigger, like Dorian Yates was the first to really bring the big mass, there was a lot more eating and a lot more rest.
Right.
Dorian claimed he trained like 2-3 days a week.
Yeah, 45 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, he was on a different level, but you know, it goes to show. I personally, I can tell you guys what I did. I built my physique with blunt force trauma.
Okay.
I went from like GQ, abs, pretty boy to like, oh shit, he's jacked, with 4 to 6 reps for years. It's dangerous. You have to be careful.
Yeah.
All training is dangerous. You have to be very careful, but I warmed up, and went heavy.
Right.
Now, you won't catch me doing 4 to 6 reps anymore. Why?
Yeah.
I built my strength. I built a lot of density in my physique.
Right.
For me to do 4 to 6 reps right now, the weight would be so heavy, it would be a little bit dangerous, and I don't want to risk that. So I still go as heavy as I can, but with a little bit more volume. The younger guys mimicking the bodybuilders doing 12, 15 reps, I don't recommend it. You need to build your strength, so once you apply 12 to 15 reps, it's a heavy weight.
Right. That makes sense, because I met Arash 2 years ago. What I was doing was all supersets. I was doing a lot of volume, 20 reps even, and 2 years ago you suggested that I drop all those supersets, I start training hard, 4 or 5 exercises, and get out of the gym. And I've grown a lot since then.
And it's about efficiency. You know, by the way, I know Kabir from the gym, if anyone's wondering how we know each other. We became friends. He's a great guy. He's serious about bodybuilding. But, you know, he works. He has a regular life. He wants to be in shape and make gains, but he's not trying to become the best bodybuilder in the world. So it's efficiency. I don't expect everyone to train and diet like me. But you guys can take tidbits. You can take 15-20% of what I do, and you'll get your gains. You'll get your results. The mainstream doctors, celebrities, all the diets that are out there all trickle down from bodybuilders. Right. We basically, and when I say we, I mean the bodybuilders of back in the day, all the knowledge and all the practice and trial and error they did trickles down into mainstream. So everyone gets affected by Arnold and all the Mr. Olympias. They learn from them.
Right. Makes sense. I've experienced it, so I can relate to that. Now this is something about exercise. I've noticed this. A lot of my friends have also noticed and have the same issue like I do. The inner middle chest. Since we're talking about exercises now, inner middle chest. A lot of people have a gap in their chest. Is that something that is you're restricted because of your genetics? Is there any way around it? Should you hide it when you pose, or can you fill that in?
Okay, if your pecs get so big, they grow and get bigger, there'll never be a gap because they'll push up against each other.
Okay.
Cleavage. Right.
So
most guys that claim with this, are they big?
No.
Are they beginners?
Yeah, pretty much.
Takes time.
Yeah.
You asked me about the upper chest, I can tell you what to do. Rotate your shoulders back and focus more on the upper chest and not your delts. Delts get in the way.
Right.
But the middle chest, your chest grows, it'll fill out. Right. It'll take some time.
Right.
That being said, shape of a muscle cannot be changed.
Right.
You can't change the shape of your muscle. That's genetically given to you. You can change the shape of your body, your physique as a whole, by making certain areas bigger, certain areas smaller. If your waist does not get any smaller,
Yeah.
it stays exactly the same, but your outer quads, your lats and shoulders get bigger, your waist is going to look smaller.
Right.
It's bodybuilding is the art of illusion.
Right.
We cannot change the shape of muscle. If we could, all of us would train exactly like Dorian did. His workouts are online. And we would end up after 2, 3, 4, 5 years looking like Arnold. Did I say Dorian or Arnold?
You said Dorian.
Dorian. I'm on low carbs. My brain is fine. So Arnold, for instance, I use Arnold because everybody wants his chest and his shape. That's his genetic shape. So you'll see every bodybuilder on stage has different dimples, different tie-ins, different where the muscle inserts. That's their genetic shape. And if you look at a lot of top bodybuilders, if you look at me, go look at my picture from when I was 13. Go look at my picture when I was 16, 20. Compared to now, I'm a bigger version of that guy. But I don't have completely different shape. Like you see my pecs, like when I'm young, there's a picture of me posing like this, and there's a dimple right here.
Yeah.
I still have that, but I'm just bigger.
Right. Now for chest, do you hit certain exercises? Do you ever avoid doing decline, or do you do everything? Do you think there's something better?
Decline's great. Decline hits the whole entire chest. You have to understand, the way a muscle is trained is when you bring two ends of the muscle, my bicep ties in here and ties in here. When I bring those two ends closer together, that's how a muscle contracts, right? So your chest inserts from here, upper chest here, mid chest here, and lower chest here. So a lot of people think that when they pull a cable, for instance, from bottom to top, it's decline, but it's not. It'll hit your upper chest.
Right.
Decline is great. It hits the whole chest, but I just don't think most guys do decline wrong. They're benching and the bar is like down here.
Right.
Decline is really good. I do a lot of decline hammer strength, but you got to make sure your angle with your elbow and your shoulder is correct so you're getting a full contraction.
Right.
If you get on a decline bench press and the bar's down here, you're moving like this much, your range of motion, and you're barely even using your chest. Bring that bar to your collarbone, guys, on decline and see how much harder it is. See how much weaker you're going to be, and see how much more of a pump and stimulation you're going to get in your chest.
Right.
My chest workouts now are very, very basic. They've actually always been basic. My chest was my weakest body part when I was a kid, and now it's my strongest.
Yep.
I did incline dumbbells for like 12 years in the beginning of my workout. Nowadays, I do 3, sometimes 4. But I go very, very intense and very heavy. I'll do decline, I'll do flat. I don't do more than 2 presses. Okay. 2 presses and flies, heavy flies were like my golden exercise. I've always done heavy flies, and not this, not a press. I did proper flies. When you guys do a fly, you hug a tree. You can't hug a tree with straight arms. I see guys do this, bend 90 degrees, and then straight. That's a press. So if you want to do a proper fly, the bend in the elbow does not change. It just opens here and comes up, and you're squeezing, you're hugging a tree. You have to hug a tree with bent arms. You can't hug a tree like this. Right. So the proper form is what really built my chest, not volume. I never trained my chest more than 4 or 5 exercises. Right. When I was younger, I did 4 or 5. Now it's 3, 4, and I never trained it more than once a week.
So you don't think that something like decline would make your chest sag or anything of that nature?
Not at all, but most guys have an overdeveloped under chest and an underdeveloped upper chest. They should really focus on retracting their shoulders. Put your arm all the way forward. All the way. Okay, now retract your shoulder. What was that, 2 inches? Yeah. Okay, so your front delt is out of the equation now. Right. At least a little bit more. It's never going to be fully out of the equation. You guys rotate, pull your shoulders back, tuck it back, and do your press next time. You'll be a little weaker, but you'll see what I'm talking about. You're going to get a pump, crazy pump.
Makes sense. I'm going to try that. I also had a question from some girls, right? Some of my friends were asking in terms of cardio, and since girls have estrogen, should their cardio and training be different at all, or can they follow the basics of training, like, just like men do 15 minutes of cardio post-workout or fasted cardio? Should they be doing more cardio, females, or does it not make that much of a difference?
It doesn't make a difference from male or female. It's relative to their genetics, their muscle mass, how hard they're training, how much they're dieting. There's people that do 2 hours of cardio and they're fat. Right. It's because they're eating too much. Right. So it's all relative. There's no, I'm a big advocate of HIIT. Everyone knows I do HIIT. I haven't done HIIT once this prep. Why? Because I don't want my quads to wither away. HIIT will actually build your quads up when you're eating. Right. I'm eating 75 grams of carbs. HIIT burns a lot more fat, but a hell of a lot more glycogen. And
Right.
I don't have enough glycogen right now to spare.
Yeah.
So I don't do any HIIT in this prep.
Right.
Look, if there's steady state cardio burns a higher percentage of fat, so it sounds like it's better. All that means is this. I don't have a chart here, but steady state cardio burns this much fat and this much glycogen.
Right.
Much less. So it's a
Right.
higher percentage of fat burned than glycogen.
Right.
Correct?
Makes sense.
HIIT will burn this much fat. More than 10, 20 times more fat, but it'll burn this much glycogen. So all that means is you have to replenish your glycogen stores. For a regular person, HIIT, or even when you're getting ready for a competition, HIIT is going to burn a hell of a lot more fat. I've done HIIT every single prep all the way till this one. And the only reason I'm not doing it, I'm getting leaner with my steady state, and my steady state is not the same all the time. The intensity, the inclines, I do all different machines to keep my body guessing. But I don't want to, I worked on my quads, I got them a lot bigger. Now that my carbs are so low, no HIIT.
Okay.
But no, there's no difference for females.
So nothing about estrogen, and they have to do more cardio every day, nothing of that sort.
Estrogen is dependent on their fats. I had a female come to me last week, and she said she's not getting her period, she's drug-free, she's not getting her period, she doesn't feel that great. I looked at her diet, it was old school bodybuilder. Bunch of carbs, high protein, and no fat.
Wow.
I lowered her carbs, kept them around training,
Yeah.
lowered her protein, changed some of her protein, one of her protein meals to salmon, which is great for women because their skin.
Yeah.
And I added her another fat meal, either avocado or almonds.
Right.
What happened? She got her period.
Wow.
And she feels better.
Yeah.
What did I say a few questions ago? Male and female hormone, fat is very relative to the production of it.
Right. So it's not bad for females to have
To
like,
do cardio?
Yeah.
Not at
The
all.
estrogen, I mean.
Cardio won't affect their estrogen.
Okay.
I mean, look, if you're not eating anything and you're not having enough fats and you're running yourself into the ground with hours and hours of cardio, no, that's not good.
Right.
And also, the body is very smart. Your body always wants to maintain homeostasis. That's why fitness is so hard, because we're trying to get really muscular and really lean. Your body doesn't want to be really muscular and really lean.
Right.
When you're in a calorie deficit, your body actually thinks it's dying. So a lot of times people are not eating anything, doing tons of cardio, not losing weight because their metabolism is shut down.
Right.
And this is a whole nother video, but that's what a cheat meal is for, guys. You don't have a cheat meal because it's Sunday. You have a cheat meal when your metabolism slowed down to tell your body, here's a surplus of calories, relax, we're not dying, and it jump starts. And if you're lean enough, and if you're depleted, and if you really needed it, your metabolism will ramp up after the cheat meal, and you'll actually get hot, and you'll even start sweating.
Right.
But if you're just having a cheat meal, you're not at a calorie deficit, and you're just having it every Sunday to have it, that's really not the purpose of it.
Yep. I also had one. This is my last question, right? It's about diet again. Do you think that there's a certain kind of carb that's more efficient in terms of fat loss? Like, should you focus more on something with a lower glycemic index or a higher glycemic index, in the sense like white rice versus sweet potatoes?
That's a great question. So glycemic index is very relative to storing fat, spiking insulin. The lower the glycemic index, guys, glycemic index is basically, it's always compared to glucose. Dextrose, glucose being 100. Glycemic index is how rapidly and aggressively a carbohydrate spikes your insulin. You want to stay away from spiking insulin too much throughout the day when you're trying to get leaner. So low glycemic carbs that don't spike the insulin as rapid, which are fibrous carbs that come from the earth, oatmeal, sweet potato, vegetables are carbs, beans. These are healthier carbs, and they won't spike your insulin as rapidly as processed carbs, white rice, white bread, okay? Right. Why do we have white rice? Why do we have cream of rice in our diets as bodybuilders? Spiking your insulin's a very anabolic hormone. Spiking your insulin post-training is very, very important for muscle gains, muscle recovery. It's a very anabolic hormone. You want to utilize that. So having white rice or cream of rice after you train with your protein is very important. But you don't want to just be constantly eating. Like for a beginner that doesn't have a lot of muscle mass,
right,
I would recommend, away from training, lower glycemic carbs.
Right.
And I wouldn't be having white rice and cream of rice throughout the day and all that stuff. So I think that's very important. But how much muscle you have is very relative, because if you're really, really muscular and you're working really hard, if you spike your insulin rapidly, it's going to go to your muscles. It's going to go to your glycogen stores.
Right.
But again, that depends on how much carbs they're eating. If your carbs are really, really low and you're working hard and you're in a diet like me, if you have high glycemic carbs, it's okay.
Right.
Like you're gonna utilize those carbohydrates. You're gonna store them as glycogen and pretty much use them for fuel.
Right.
That being said, after training, what I recommend and what I did for years was you could have liquid carbs because it's very quick, but food's more enjoyable.
Right.
I have fast digesting carbs to spike the insulin. Either, I used to have dextrose when I was younger. I don't have it anymore. I think it's very, it's not superior to the carbs that are out nowadays, like highly branched dextrin, Vitargo. So I would have carbs to spike the insulin. I would lean protein, and I put glutamine and creatine in there, and I have alpha lipoic acid. It helps channel the carbs. So it's almost like you're mimicking insulin injection.
Right.
You're really utilizing that. And that's really going to help you get a lot bigger. A lot of you guys are training really, really hard, but you're having like whey isolate after you train and nothing else. Whey isolate is amazing after you train. With carbohydrates is important for recovery.
Right.
So that's really, really important to do.
So that's one time you should have a fast digesting carb and then focus more on like slow digesting if you're trying to be in fat loss.
Absolutely. But I've also had some clients that told me I have oatmeal or I have sweet potato and it bloats me and it upsets my stomach. So those people, if they're sensitive to it, they can't do that. And you especially do not want to bloat your stomach and have discomfort before you train.
Right.
Now, before you train, oatmeal and sweet potato with some fats and protein is great because it slows the digestion. Protein will slow the will slow the digestion of anything, any carb.
Right.
And you'll have fuel for your workout. That being said, glycemic index changes. See, glycemic index of Coke, regular Coca-Cola, with sugar, not Diet Coke, is very high.
Right.
If you have a Coke, your insulin will spike rapidly. Now, if you have chicken breast with vegetables and then you have a Coke, your insulin will not spike as rapidly because the protein and vegetables will slow the digestion and lower the glycemic index. So glycemic indexes are very relative to what you're consuming the food with.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep, makes sense. I can agree because the first time I actually spoke to you was probably 2.5 years ago. My first question to you on Facebook was what kind of carbs I should focus on. And you told me I should switch from white rice to sweet potatoes. And ever since then, I've noticed I've always been leaner when I've had sweet potatoes instead of white rice. For my body type, it's always worked.
It depends on the person. Some people it disrupts the stomach. Some people will retain water from higher fiber carbs, from oatmeal, sweet potato. But what I recommend, rule of thumb, like have some vegetables with all your protein meals, helps digestion. And stick with, carbs that come from the earth, lower glycemic carbs like sweet potatoes, yams, quinoa, beans, oatmeal. And then if you want to do the white rice or creamer rice, I would do it around training.
Okay. Yep, makes sense. That's all the questions I had. Yep. I met Arash probably 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. The first time I met him was actually through Facebook. I messaged him. I didn't know him, but I messaged him asking him about diet tips. And he didn't know me either, but he helped me out. He sent me a long list of things I could change about my diet, things I could do. And started doing them. I met him at the gym, Bev Francis Powerhouse, for the first time, probably 2 months after, but I told him that, you helped me on Facebook, and he remembered, and he asked me how I'm progressing, and he's been the same last 2.5, 3 years, regardless of how many shows he's won. He's been the same guy, so I really look up to him, and I appreciate him taking the time to answer my questions.
I love to share what I've learned, but people that put it to use, you've always been a gentleman, you've always been very nice, and that's why I was always willing to help. So it's been a pleasure. Great questions. Those were actually, this wasn't scripted. I didn't know the questions before.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, man. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Rush.
We'll do this again soon if you guys like. Comment below what you think of the video and any comments or questions about what we went over, and we'll do this more often for you guys.